Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the dungeon. I'm your host, as usual, the Dungeon Master Vibe, and we're back for some more of the morning dungeon. How's everyone doing today? Bit early, but a little bit early as we usually do it, though not quite as early as I've done some in the past. And, yeah. Before we get started, a few announcements I wanted to get out of the way. First off, you might, as I'm sure you noticed, there's a bit of music in the background. This is not music I made myself, however, this is part of a copyright-free playlist, specifically designed for use in YouTube and streams and such, so we're going to try it out and see how that goes. If any of the services I'm using here, be it Twitch or YouTube, decide that this is not okay, then I'll just have to stop using the music, of course. So we'll just kind of have to see how that goes. Should be fine, as it's, you know, as I said, specifically made for use of this. Just some nice little chill beats I can play in the background until I manage to get some nice beats of my own to play. Let's see, other thing. Another update. I'll probably talk about this tomorrow as well, whereas we'll probably be playing some more Library of Ruina tomorrow. So I'll say it then as well, but they have posted on the game's Steam page that they have made the announcement for the full release of the game, which I believe is May 28th? May 28th, yes. May 28th, so this month even. They will be doing the full release of Library of Ruina, which is going to include Steam achievements as well as a lot of balance and UI adjustments, and also additional general receptions as well. So there'll be plenty of new content to explore, as well as the main story, which we've been delving deep into at this point. Considering the current difficulty we're having with some of the current chapters, I imagine we probably won't beat it before the full release. If we do, I don't know what we'll do. I'll definitely be playing it some more on my own, but I don't know if we'll stream it. Probably do some streams, we just maybe won't do it quite as frequent. But also, I'm actually not totally sure how close we actually are to the end of the game. I think the next chapter is the last chapter, but I guess we'll have to see. But we'll go over all this tomorrow as well. Only other thing is I am actually working on putting together a Twitter page for the channel, as well as I am going to try making maybe some Reddit posts on r/virtual YouTubers to kind of try to help out the channel here. So keep an eye out for those. Once those go live, I'll start mentioning them some more in these videos as well as add their links, or any links necessary. I don't really need to add a Reddit link, because that's more just me making a post on Reddit. So if anything, it would just be like the Twitter will be linked once that's set up. But yeah, and we'll basically just use that to post, schedule updates and things like that. So, you know, everyone can kind of know what's going on and not always just have to, you know, strictly rely on Twitch notifications for when we go live. But that should do it for everything. My new model is still being worked on. I checked up on that again. It's just busy times for a lot of people, so it's been a bit slow going on the base drawing. Once that's done, though, I should be able to start getting the work done for the new model. I'm still really looking forward to that. I haven't talked about that in a while because I knew it was going to be a little bit before it was done, but there is the new model still being worked on, so I'm still looking forward to that. But yeah, for now though, it's time to get into the dungeon. So last time, so this is a continuing story of the campaign that I am currently running, by the name of Heroes of the Frontier. The story of a group of adventurers exploring the unexplored northern lands of the continent in which they live, as well as combating the fiendish cult that is hell-bent on reuniting the sparks of war within their nations. So last time they set out, they managed to kind of push even further into the frontier than they had ever before, as well as defeated the mighty Hydra that was guarding the path forward, and have now stepped forward into the area that has been named the Frigid Shards, a cold and frozen waste that would prove to be their toughest challenge yet. So, let's hop right into it. So, the party sets out onto the frigid shores. Along the way, they battle with enemies as well as the elements, as dangerous blizzards hinder their travel. Along the way to the witch's home, they encounter orcs, yetis, and wolves, all out for the party's blood, but they manage to defeat them all. Along the way, the most dangerous foe they encounter is actually an iron golem that they encounter along the way. When they encounter it, Ragnar, noticing that it doesn't seem to be paying them much heed, throws a snowball at it. As he does, it turns around, and upon locking eyes with Ragnar, just like with the clay golem, it charges him with a reckless abandon. They manage to fight off and defeat it, as unlike the clay golem, it does not have the resistance to all the acidic attacks that Ragnar is using with his magical halberd, as well as the majority of the abilities being used by the party do just fine against it. However, they do, unfortunately, discover it has not only a immunity, but is empowered by fire attacks, which does put a bit of a stopper on some of the party's abilities as well. So far, these golems have already proven to be some of the tougher enemies. If you're not familiar, golems actually are a very difficult enemy to fight in the game, especially at lower levels, as most weapon attacks pretty much useless against them unless the DM is giving you magical or adamantine weapons very early game. In this particular case, they did have access to magical items, as this was a high magic setting, so I give them a lot of magical items, but kind of throw tougher enemies at them a little earlier. But yeah, so they managed to defeat the Iron Golem, and sure enough, inside of it, they find a disc of similar design as the one they found within the Clay Golem, putting together a very clear connection between the two. So they continue on and reach the forest in which the witch Kruthai, who in previous session had spoken with Ragnar within his dream, and told him where to find her. They manage to reach her forest and are actually met by a chimera that does not attack them, but instead leads them to the witch's abode. Surrounding her abode, they find numerous chimera, not just your box stand chimera. We're talking like just all sorts of strange mutation of various creatures merged together, seemingly to be the creations of the witch Kruthai herself. So, as they enter her abode, they come face to face first time with Kruthai, an elven woman with, to be honest, like straight up the usual witch tie, big pointy hat like mine, long black robes, you know the works. Within, she tells the party about her and her siblings and so the dynamic between them. She tells them that Rai, the leader of the Witch's Hand, wishes to wage a never-ending war, believing that is what their mother, the Witch Queen, wanted. She tells them about her twin, Nish, who wishes to destroy everything to wipe the slate clean using his golems, at which point they are informed that he is the one who is creating and sending out these golems, who apparently had the sole directive of seeking out and killing the other witch's children. Ragnar, now bearing the mark of the witch, seems to be also a bit of a target of theirs now. She tells them that she herself simply wishes to continue her research and is quite content waiting things out within her forest abode, where she can conduct her experiments without any trouble. Party's a bit skeptical of her and don't quite believe her, but for now, leave it be. And she tells them that she is actually unaware of her lost sister's intentions, that one being, of course, the recently discovered princess of Vadaya, Sith Mather, to be one of said children, and as well as Dash, the young fortune teller that they met back in the city. It would seem that Kruthai is not aware of their existence, and the party decides to keep it that way for now. So she tells the party that in exchange for helping her, she would teach Ragnar about the dream, as well as gift them her ring, which she informs the party that each one is infused with a small portion of the Witch Queen's power, something that the party already surmised before with previous dealings with these rings, but were happy to have the confirmation. The party agrees and hears out her troubles. So she gives them 3 tasks. The first task, she asks them to help with or to stop Turge, the middle finger, the witch's hand, from getting the local tribe to join his ranks. A task that she tells them closely involves Rob, as the leader of said tribals shares his family name, and that the tribe refuses to deal with Turge until he settles his feud with Rob. Additionally, deep in the forest lies a village of Drow, which Kruthai holds an alliance with. The village itself, however, is currently plagued with troubles due to the curses from a coven of hags named Rhyme, Rot, and Ruin. And finally, the Frost Giants, now having a break from the constant fighting with the Orc tribes, now seek to break into the Temple of the Witch Queen hidden within their fortress, and obtain the objects inside that supposedly will allow them to rule over the Frigid Shards. So in exchange for helping with these matters, and if possible killing Niche, whenever that time should arrive, she tells them that she will give to them all the knowledge she has, and can consider her an ally. The party, skeptical and cautious, agreed to the deal, knowing that at the very least those first 3 tasks for sure are things that they'll have to deal with anyways. So come the next session, the party, known as the Huntsman, as I might have mentioned before, the Huntsman, wait out a blizzard at Kruthai's abode before heading into the woods to find the Drow village. As they set out, before long, the Drow find them, but are skeptical of the outsiders. They are, however, willing to at least direct them towards the hags, as if they can defeat them, that would settle both of their problems. They tell the party where to find the hags and show them the marks they use to traverse the forest. The marks are actually recognized by Siliquin, who finds that they have a very particular likeness to similar markings that those of the Biojikage use. So they travel off to a distant shore, one that they find to be actually a coast of what they presume to be the ocean, as they can smell the salt on the air, and after a taste, find the water to be exceptionally salty. Very cold, of course, but very salty. This being actually the first time many of the party have seen the ocean. Bit of an awe-inspiring sight for them. However, as they reach the shore, they find the hags that they set up camp. Words are difficult. They find that the hags, their coven actually resides on an iceberg that they control and bring to shore once a day to cast their curse. So they set up camp on the shore itself, and as they wait, a blizzard blows in. And as it does, the iceberg right along with it. So they climb up into the entrance of the iceberg, obscured by the blizzard. How is it, though it does provide a bit of an issue with some of the party as they climb up, but they manage it without too much issue. As they enter in, they find that the center of the iceberg seems to be held up by a large ice pillar. And within said pillar, they see within a massive storm giant frozen within, and presume that perhaps that they are somehow using it to control the iceberg. As they explore the iceberg, they find the first hag, the night hag named Rot, who, upon seeing the party, immediately begins to attack using clouds of poison, and leads a legion of undead gnolls against the party. The party manages to defeat her without too much issue, as well as her gnolls. And in an adjacent room, find a gnoll fling. If you're not familiar, this is a bit more of a kind of a hardy, more violent gnoll, if you can imagine them being more violent. And I guess if you're not familiar with gnolls, they are these crazy, sadistic hyena monsters. And a fling, in particular, is sort of a leader of said creatures that wields a flare with multiple kind of debilitating effects on it. The party is more than enough match for a single fling, however, and manages to defeat it. And within the chamber it's guarding, find a glowing crystal, which, after they destroy, seems to rock the entire structure and causes the storm giant to stir. They kind of conclude at this point that these crystals must be keeping the storm giant trapped within the ice, and decide that it would be a good idea to try to track down the rest to try to free it. So, continuing up to the second floor of the iceberg, they find ogres and trolls guarding this floor. But Ragnar, using the usual tricks, uses his magical tattoo to disguise himself as an ogre, and claims the rest of the party are his snacks, and that he is now in charge, and the other ogres have to do what he says. Ogres, being exceptionally stupid, and Ragnar being kind of charismatic, manages to succeed in this bluff, and the ogres just kind of let him walk on by. In what proved to be a pretty funny situation. Passing by it, they enter a room where a troll guards an on these crystals. The troll does not really care of the ogres or the disguise, and so the party does end up having to fight it. But they've dealt with regenerating creatures before, and so are smart enough to use fire against the troll and have little to no issue defeating it and claiming the second of the crystals. In an adjacent room, they find the second of the hags, an honest hag by the name of Ruin. By the way, I have no clue if I pronounced that type of hag correctly. It's spelled like A-N-N-I-S. I don't know if the way I say it's the way you're supposed to say it, but every time we say it, there's a little chuckle around the table, so it's like, yeah. In any case, so she battles, so she fights them. Unlike the other hag, she actually just kind of uses brute strength. At one point, actually grappling a Silicon and beginning to crush her in her grip, doing not insignificant amount of damage to her. And alongside her, she has an ogre that seems to have metal rods jammed within it. And on the ogre's turn, as opposed to attacking itself, it would seem it instead cast the hag spell sort of as a proxy. Seemingly able to do this even with the death of the previous hag, still able to access their coven spells. The party manages to kill both of them and claim works in iron nail and carved with various runes. Which reminds me, I forgot to mention, upon defeating the night hag, they claimed a item that she had known as a soul bag. They find that the soul bag and the nail seem to hum with a similar energy and seem drawn to each other, at which point the party concludes that each hag seems to have some sort of trinket that perhaps has some sort of use if the three are combined. Yet another thing they decide to set after, but a lot of things coming in threes. In sort of a coven's whole thing. You get 3 hags in a coven, 3 items, 3 crystals. Yeah, all 3 here. Yeah. So they continue up to the 3rd floor. On the 3rd floor, they don't find any guards amongst the place, but instead find the floor pretty much covered in brown mold. A dangerous, kind of naturally occurring magical mold that siphons heat to the point that it deals a not insignificant amount of frost damage, cold damage, whatever you want to call it, upon contact with it. Luckily, Sirquin, being of a magical persuasion, had access to Ray of Frost and was able to, without issue, clear out the mold. As they enter an exterior chamber that has the sky exposed, they find the final hag, the Buer hag named Rhyme. And let me tell you guys, Buer hags are my new favorite hag. These things are awesome. Really creepy, and they get a cool set of abilities. Even without the hag, though, being connected to a coven, their own innate spellcasting abilities are crazy. We're talking Cone of Cold, Wall of Ice, Ray of Frost. They can eat corpses and induce a totally debilitating fear effect. Their mega attacks on. They get a special staff that they can fly around on, and the only one that can fly around on it, and it's just a regular ass stick in anyone else's hand. And she uses all these tricks against the party. As Rob and Silicon enter the chamber, she uses the Wall of Ice to actually block off Fenrir and Ragnar from Rob and Silicon, focusing on attacking Rob and Silicon first. The two of them manage to fight her off as Ragnar and Fenrir work on smashing through the Wall of Ice. They manage to do so, and as they charge in, manage to all gang up on the hag, with Ragnar delivering a killing blow. So, with the defeat of the 3 hags, they find that the storm outside subsides somewhat, and in yet another adjacent room, they find the last of the crystals, as well as the final trinket, a crown made of ice. So, with that, they gather up the crystals and the trinkets and head outside, worried that should they awaken the storm giant from inside, they might have a bit of an issue. So they all head outside and prepare. So that brings us to the next session. And guys, I'm going to admit, this one started on a high note, but it all went south on this one. So, the party frees the Storm Giant, who is actually a Storm Giant. I believe it's called a Storm Giant Sinquintant one. Shit, what's it called? Basically, it's a really old Storm Giant who's obtained a number of super powerful innate storm controlling abilities, and basically are one with Storm. They're like literally just like a living storm. It claims itself. Doesn't claim to have any other name other than simply referring to itself as the Tempest. Upon freeing it, it thanks the party, telling them that the hags had trapped it there as it rested and were using it to fuel their dark magics. They manage. So he, in exchange for helping him out, he gives the party a crystal that allows them to once a day, with it recharging on 1d6 days, change the weather effect of the day. So out here in the Frigid Shores, essentially allowing them to, hey, if there's a blizzard, no more blizzard. 1d6 every 1d6 days. Something that the party is very happy to have, as they keep as far as the weather goes during their travel in this area, they're rolling pretty bad, consistently, and as a result, man, it had a lot of blizzards to deal with. Additionally, they combined the 3 trinkets that the hags had, and which transformed into a magical sword, or a sentient magic sword called the Boreal Blade. It's a sword that I constructed, kind of based off of another sword that I saw in a D&D supplement book that allows you to deal frost damage, as well as do a charm effect, and if you attack an enemy charmed by the sword, it deals even more frost damage, but afterwards the enemy becomes immune to the charming effect. They're not able, unfortunately, they don't get much time with this weapon or the new magic crystal, but we'll get to that later. So as the party leaves the hags, the former hag coven space, they set out to go see the village. The drow meet them part way and lead them to their hidden village, and within confirm Citroquin's suspicions that these people are actually the original founders of the Village of Kage and the fighting styles there, as well as the original owners of the Mark of Shadows. So these drow, very ninja-like people, hide out in the Frigid Shores. And it's feeling that as the times were changing, that perhaps people would begin to take issue with them all being drow and such, and so they decided to set out onto the frontier to kind of safeguard against any incoming threats, something that they been having a bit of issue with as of late due to, hag covens, orcs, and giants reawakening, and all this stuff brought about by the witch's hand. But the village chief tells them that so long as they keep the village secret, that they can count themselves allies of the party, and the party finds himself a nice, full, safe space to rest for the day. So, afterwards, come the following day, they exit the forest and decide it's time to go after Terj and settle the feud between him and Rob, once and for all. During their travels, though, they come upon a rather deadly encounter. So, with Rob leading the way, currently the one with the best survival check at this point, he's leading the party, and as he walks along, he is prompted to make a perception check. One that he unfortunately rolls rather low on, and his passive is no better. As such, he does not notice the adult Rimmer Haze hiding beneath the snow, which allows it to get a sneak attack on the party, attacking Rob. Now, a Rimmer Haze is an extremely dangerous creature. CR 11, AC 17. Deals I want to say 4d10, I think, damage on an attack. Only gets one attack, but here's why. You see, on its sneak attack, it manages to successfully hit Rob. when the Rim of Haze successfully hits a creature, it auto-grapples it. Once it auto-grapples a creature, it can only attack the grappled creature, which initially would seem like not much of an issue. However, with sneak attack included, it's time to roll initiative, and unfortunately, low rolls across the board with the Rim of Haze going first. So, the Rim of Haze does the only thing it can do. It attacks Rob, who is currently in its mouth, and it successfully hits. Now, here's the thing with Rim of Haze. If it successfully hits a creature it is grappling, the creature takes that piercing damage, which is a lot, and then the creature is swallowed. A swallowed creature takes, I think, like another, like, I want to say like 4, 6, D10 acid damage at the start of the Rim of Haze's turn, and is restrained. Now, the only way to get it out is, say, teleporting, or as it lists in the book, dealing at least 30 points of damage in a single turn from inside the creature, causes it to regurgitate any swallowed creatures. And alternatively, I would say maybe someone could probably maybe force a hand down and try to pull the person out, but that's rather dangerous, so obviously no one tried that. Now then, so Rim of Haze's turn first. It attacks. It hits, because it got like a very high modifier on attack rolls, unfortunately. And as a result, it swallows Rob, who is, after those 2 attacks, very low on HP already. The party is like level 8 at this point. So unfortunately, this would be ruled as, I believe, a deadly encounter. I rolled with random encounter tables, and they rolled the most difficult encounter in the area for their level. So So, he is swallowed, and the party is scrambling to deal damage to this Rim of Haze, as they need to get their cleric out. Otherwise, he is going to die within the next turn, basically within 2 turns. Rob's turn, he fails to deal enough damage to cause it to regurgitate him, and the pressure is really on party sweating bullets at this point. And so, Ragnar comes up. He goes in for the hit. Tries to use his binding chains, which deal fire damage, only to find that the Rim of Haze not only is immune to fire damage, but when a creature hits it within 5 feet of it, it deals fire damage to said creature, as the Rim of Haze has a superheated body that causes fire damage when it is hit within 5 feet, or when a creature just touches it. Ragnar deals a decent amount of damage, but is unable to get Rob out. Comes Sirquin's turn. Now knows it's immune to fire damage, and tries using the fancy new sword. Finds out it's also immune to cold damage, rendering the sword, the brand new awesome sword, basically useless. Finnedir's turn. He is trying to pepper it with his bow. However, his attacks just can't seem to roll high enough to pierce its AC of 17. Definitely my fault there, as I kept rolling bad. I mean, it's kind of my fault. The dice, the random. You roll it, a number comes up. Come the Rim of Haze's turn, Rob takes the damage and is now unconscious inside the creature. Party is freaking out. He is going to die within 2 turns if they can't get him out. Come his turn, he fails his first death save and is already prepared to start making a new character. Ragnar continues his relentless attack, hitting it with everything he got. Rim of Haze hits him, manages to grapple him. However, Ragnar, being a smart fellow, uses his giant rune to change his form from medium to large. The Rim of Haze is unable to swallow large creatures, so it is unable to swallow Ragnar. After a round of combat, the Rim of Haze, realizing it is unable to swallow the large thing in its mouth, spits it out and goes after the next closest and smaller prey, Citiguin. Which it, unfortunately, in a surprising turn of events, manages to hit Citiguin. Citiguin has so far been, honestly, despite being a wizard, the tankiest member of the party. Brainsingers can tank. They can get some high AC, and Citiguin had a very high AC, but they managed to hit her regardless. So she is hit, and within the next turn is in fact swallowed. At this point, Rob is now looking at 2 failed saves as he's taking more damage from the acid. At this point, Finnedir and Ragnar are freaking out. Ragnar has been knocked unconscious, and Finnedir rushes over, using his last healing potion to get him back up. As he looks to Ragnar for guidance, asking what to do, Ragnar tells him to run. So, Finnedir, tears in his eyes, flees from the party. Hold on, I got a notification. What is this? Okay, nothing important. Anywho. But yeah. So, with that, Finnedir runs. Within the next turn, Rob is dead, digested by the monster, and Sirquin is following soon after. The creature is unable to swallow Ragnar, but Dam is committed to try, as it beats him down, biting him and striking at him, and manages to kill him. With that, we face the first, the first full party wipe I've actually experienced as a DM. I had yet to actually kill an entire party in a single encounter. This was a first for me, and honestly, we have to have everyone in a bit of a down mood. However, it was not the end of the party. As the party lie dead, they find themselves in the dream, where they come face to face with a man who refers to himself as Pharaohs. He tells them he can place their minds within new bodies, and that he has invested interest in seeing them succeed in their goals. The only sort of cautionary point he puts out is that he can't guarantee what the bodies he puts them in will be, and as such, any repercussions that they face because of that are kind of their own to deal with. The party, each of them having their own things that they need to see done, agreed to this. So with that, the party rolls new characters. However, they are playing new characters and classes, but with the minds of their old characters in said bodies. So as they arrive in the new bodies, Ragnar actually wakes up placed within a Kiori that is accompanying a Katastar monk by the name of Dalamorgren, which is Ragnar's player's new character, Dalamorgren, with Ragnar acting now as more of a mentor role. He decided to do this because the player was concerned that the way he'd been playing Ragnar, he felt like he just didn't have any... He basically made him without any actual motivation to do the things that they were set out to doing, and as such he wanted to make a character with some more invested interest in dealing with these issues. And so he created Dalamorgren, and with Ragnar basically being his stand, if you're a JoJo fan, or his persona if you're a Persona fan. I'm a fan of both, so yeah. It's more like a stand, though, in this particular case. Anywho, Rob wakes up in the body of a wood elf ranger named Solon, and Sidogwen wakes up in the body of a shifter sorcerer named Pendulum. Dalamorgren, the only one retaining their original self, is rather confused, but has the situation explained to them by Ragnar's spirit, and the party introduces themselves, and prepare to learn about their new bodies. The things they begin to learn, though, are rather interesting. They find that each of them originally came from a monastery in Orthir. This monastery was attacked for unknown reasons by the Witch's Hand, and these three friends set out to track down the Witch's Hand to get answers and possibly revenge. As they set out, they actually find that other than the fact that they are friends and all hung around the monastery, Dalamorgren himself actually does not know too much about the lifestyles of Solon and Pendulum prior to their arrival at the monastery, leaving a lot of questions for the party and their new bodies, which then brought us to the next session. So the party travels to track down the leader of the Orc tribe, a man who was previously told to them by Kruzai was named Durzum Gashna, presumably a relative of Rob's. However, they also discovered that after their death, 3 months had actually passed in the time since they died and were revived in these new bodies. And within that time, they discover, upon battling with a group of orcs along the way, that Durzum Gashna had in fact been defeated by Terj and was exiled by him. The party decides that they would track down Dozum in hopes of getting him to help them retake the tribe and get rid of Tej. As they track down his camp, they find that he is already being hunted by the Tanrak Thor, the second command of Tej. Thor is accompanied by a motley crew of orcs, a Red Fang, a Hand of Yurtrus, a Nurtured One of Yurtrus, and a Claw of Lothric. Basically all the weird but very cool versions of orcs. The party defeats each of his minions, but as they require rest along the way, get there almost too late, as they find that Dozum has already been knocked unconscious by Thor, who is prepared to deliver the killing blow, as he's already severed one of the older orc's arms. As they come face to face with him, Thor smiles and readies himself for combat. As they battle these orcs, the man formerly known as Rob, known as Solon, finds that each of these orcs seem to have a particular hatred towards him, not just for his elven blood, but seemingly for the past life of this new body he inhabits, as each of them seem to refer to him as the Orc Slayer, and each of them seem to have a particular anger towards him. This caused a lot of issue for Rob, who finds himself rather put off by the fact that not only do these orcs seem to hate him so much, but his new body seems rather well equipped and knowledgeable on what is necessary for fighting orcs. To put it in game terms, he's a ranger, with orcs being one of his favorite enemies. The party manages to dispatch Thor and his motley crew, and manage to speak with Dozum. Dozum himself, after they wake him up, upon setting eyes on Solon, he himself is filled with rage and threatens to kill him on the spot, despite only having one arm. He attempts to convince Rob/Solon attempts to persuade him that he is in fact not this Orc Slayer fellow, but is in fact Rob Gashna, his grandson, and that he had been invited in his body. Dozum is very skeptical of this, does not believe it, and is filled with an even greater rage as he tries to invoke his family's name against him. However, with the help of the party, they manage to talk him down to at least listen to the story. As they speak, and the old wise orc listens, though rather skeptical and put off by the whole situation, he agrees to believe the story and allows them into his cave that he's been camping out in. The old orc Dozum explains to them that be he Rob or Solon, the body he is in is that known as the Orc Slayer, one who is pretty universally hated by the orcs, as back during the days of the war, he was known to hunt their kind, and using very sneaky guerrilla warfare type tactics, never even facing them in a head-on fight, constantly attacking them from the back, and relentlessly hunting them, regardless of who they were fighting for. Unfortunately, they don't have any particular reason as to why this fellow did this, but at the very least they understand now why the orcs hate him so much. Through their conversations, Rob is able to convince him that he is not Solon, the Orc Slayer, but is in fact Rob Gashna, his grandson. And so they set up a plan to overthrow Tej and take over the tribe once again. Dozum tells him that Tej, being a bit of a spellcaster himself, is not to fight fair, and he knows this as he used curses cast on him prior to his challenge against him to weaken him before the fight. So they set up a plan. He points out a rocky overlook where he is sure Tej will place his men to kind of provide support to him during what is supposed to be a one-on-one duel versus the chief, in this case Tej, and the challenger, in this case Rob. Knowing that with Rob now being the body of the Orc Slayer, he knows that should he come and challenge the chief, there's no way he'll be able to refuse the challenge, as the whole tribe would love to see their chief tear him limb from limb. And so they set the plan. Pillarum, formerly known as Sitterquin, as well as Dara Morgan, set up on the rocky overhang and prepare to ambush any of Tej's men who come to set their traps up there, and Dozum and Rob go to the arena where they will be fought battling Tej. Tej, upon spotting him through unknown means, like we saw, magical means, is able to actually immediately recognize that this is not in fact Solon, the Orc Slayer, but is actually Rob Gashna, the man who he hated, and expresses how happy he is that even though it's not in his own body, that he is delighted by the idea that he gets the opportunity to kill him all over again. And so the fight is on. However, Tej never fought the Orc Slayer before, and had studied the fighting style of Rob, a cleric, and so he was unprepared to deal with his various tricks. A lot of Tej's magical abilities are things that are druid type abilities, entanglement, firewall, things like that. A lot of stuff that kind of shuts down movement through particular areas. Him now being a ranger, he has ample abilities that allow him to get through such terrain without much difficulty. And with that, in addition to the very handy use of Zephyr's Strike, giving him additional movement without a provoking opportunity, he's able to run around the arena, staying able to get hits in and stay just out of melee range of him. Not without Tej managed to deliver a number of devastating blows of his own against him, with being a strong orc equipped with an even stronger axe. Luckily, though, Dozum, having a Warcry ability, is able actually to give a little cheering buffs to Rob, all the while seemingly taking a bit of a liking to him as he sees him fighting for his behalf. Meanwhile, Sirquin, aka Pinabum, and Dana Morgan battle with Tej's minions at the top of the overhang, with orc after orc arriving to fight them. However, the two are able to dispatch them without issue, managing to catch them by surprise, hit them with their AoEs and blurry blows, all the while, with how high they are and the roar of the crowd below, no one notices the sound of their fight happening. Tej looks worried, looking to the rocky cliff for his support, but sees no one there, and relentlessly attacks Rob, trying to get that killing blow, but he's unable to do it, as Rob himself manages to disarm and kill him, stabbing him and piercing him on the spiked barriers surrounding the arena. With him dead, Dozum accepts Rob as his own, and proclaims to the rest of the group, only knowing him as Solon, that Solon is no longer the Orc Slayer, but instead an ally of the tribe and his adopted family. With that, the party is allowed access to the tribe, and are named their allies so long as they do not take take action against them. Dozum gifts to Rob the axe used by Tej as a trophy, and accepts him as his family. So, bit right before this event, obviously they had a bit of a rather down note, but I'd say that one ended on a pretty good note, as Rob finally met more of his orc family, and even in his rather unfortunate circumstance, managed to convince them to accept him. Which did actually bring us to the end of that session. That brings us caught up actually with this current campaign, so let's go do it for this little story time. A lot of stuff happened and new mechanics I was working with during these sessions. Like kind of more difficult to deal with weather effects, things like blizzards and such. Kind of more uncertain travel, as the landscape did not have a lot of markings, as well as some more difficult combat encounters with enemies that have a lot more kind of resistances to various different types of stuff. The party does seem to be enjoying it though, and I did actually talk to them about the TPK to make sure everyone was like feeling okay about it. But luckily I've been playing with these guys for a while, and everyone's a little upset to have those characters die, but they're still kind of playing those characters. Like, they're still following those same plot threads as a result of the actions taken, and actually seem to have taken it rather well. We all played through Out of the Abyss together, yeah, we lost a lot of characters in that. So we're used to having characters die, and everyone's used to the game, and so they know that this is a thing that can happen in the game. So I'm really lucky to have a group that is, understanding of these sorts of things, and isn't just like, oh, the DM, bad DM, you killed us all, blah blah blah. I don't have a group like that, which is great. I got a good group of people to play with. So yeah. But that's gonna do it for this story. Next time we do a story time, well, as usual, actually be not this next Monday, but the one after that. We'll need some more time to kind of let the sessions build up here before I do another story for this. So we'll probably do another class review on the next one. I've done Barbarian and Board, so next up should be the Cleric, which will be quite the dive, as there was a lot of player options with the Cleric. So be on the look. So I'll be I'll be trying to get some material together beforehand for that one for sure. Make sure, you know, I don't flub around, mess around too much, and the video turns too long. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the little story. I managed to well, side thing here. As far as what we'll be doing later this week, more Library of Ruina tomorrow as usual, and then we'll also be playing some Monster Hunter. On that Wednesday, I believe. I managed to mess around with some settings. I think I got a setup where I can get the audio working properly now, so all's good there. So be on the lookout for that, and we'll be doing some more Persona 5 Scramble later this week as well. Like I said, we're nearing the end of Persona 5 Strikers, as you know, there was a pretty clear cutoff date that you're allowed to stream to, and we're approaching that. So yeah, I'll go over a lot of these announcements again on tomorrow's stream, so I'm just going to end it here instead of repeating everything again at the end of the video. But yeah, so keep an eye out for those things, and thank you guys for watching. Hope you had fun, and I wish you all a good day and safe travels. Bye.